So I invite for our second panel discussion, I invite our moderator, Captain Yashovarman Sharma, Head True North Competency Management, to commence the session. Our distinguished panelists are Captain Rohan Haranjal, Director Crew Service Center, Bernard Schulte Ship Management India Private Limited. Please welcome them with applause. Mr. Pavan Kapoor, Founder and Chairman, ISF Group. Captain Gurprasad Kohli, Principal, FOSMA Maritime Institute and Research Organization. Captain Albe Zakaria, General Manager, MOL Maritime India Private Limited. Mr. Kapil Berry, Business Development Director, DNV. Ms. Elena Gerasimova, Labor Law and Labor Standards Specialist, ILO. And Captain Girish Fadnis, COO, MASA.
Out there in the larger audience on the camera, please welcome our fantastic panel right here. They are going to fly without a safety net, no presentations, everything straight from the heart, right? Okay, lovely. The topic we have is actually a question: are seafarers future ready? And if you ask the seafarers if they are future ready, the answer is likely to be yes. And if the answer is yes, then thank you very much, panelists. We can close this. No, you don't want to go from there. You want the answer to be no. I guess the default answer is no. Everybody agrees? Yeah? Okay, we take it from there. Difference of opinion accepted. But a few things to clarify. In this particular panel discussion, are we talking about seafarers from India, Indian seafarers, or are we talking globally? For the time being, for this discussion, let's just focus on Indian seafarers, if you can, right? There's 96,000 of them, 96 probably, or 300,000, what is the number? So we'll keep that in mind, basically Indian seafarers, but not forgetting that the context would be international, right? Because of the nature of the business we are in, it's an international business. So we can't really completely separate them from the rest of the world. So, excuse me for a few notes. The word future comes in, and then are we crystal ball gazing or what? It's always been a fascination of mankind to know what lies in the future. You can talk of soothsayers of thousands of years back, coming up to Nostradamus and whatnot. And in the Indian ethos, you have the Panditji who will read your Kundli and tell you how your marriage is going to be, and you better get married to a tree first before you actually get married to a life partner. So that's the remedy. Am I right? Okay. Yeah. Well, we are right here in this very land of astrologers, horoscope makers, and so on. But let's be realistic about what we talk today. All right. And in that context, allow me a few minutes to set the stage, the background, please. All right. Talking of future, let us also be looking at the past. Let's take a look at the rear view mirror and see what's happened in the last, say, 15, 20 years, or say from the turn of the century. And also relate that to the next 15, 20 years, the year 2047, a milestone, Amrit Kal, and all of that. Okay, we will limit our future scope to that level. What's happened in the last 25 years in terms of changes that have taken place and how seafarers have coped with it, it's remarkable, right? From the emergence of new players into the seafarer competency issues. We have owners and operators getting into the act of raising competency of the seafarers, not just relying on administrations and certificates of competency. We have original equipment manufacturers coming into the game, providing training for their own equipment, what they manufacture, what they make, and what they put out on the ships. We have classification societies coming into the arena of training and competence development. We have crew unions also stepping in and helping out their members to get more up to the mark. Mr. Kapoor Sahab, you can talk about that later, the crew union part, and maybe Alina as well. And then, as far as the Indian context is concerned, seafarer competency and development has moved away from the ambit of DG shipping to Indian Maritime University. Earlier, as you all know, and many of us trained into what were the only facilities available, LBS or Mary, and that was under DG shipping, and that's gone now to IMU. So it's more like academic, university-related training. Of course, DG shipping still holds the matter of certification. Yeah, that's on the training side. What about in the field? Actually on the ships, and as been mentioned earlier, not a lot has changed. Or has it? No. What has changed in navigation? We have gone from paper charts to paperless. We have gone with EGDIS, AIS. We have gone with larger vessels, bigger ships, more difficult to handle and maneuver. On the machinery side, a lot more changes in terms of automation, in terms of fuels, in terms of environment, air pollution, in terms of energy conservation. And on the cargo side, some changes, not a lot, but some changes, particularly in the gas trade, maybe container trade. All right? So that's the last 25 years, folks, right? And have the seafarers managed to cope with that? It's a question we'll answer as you go along. All right? What can be universally accepted is, in our field, technology is moving ahead and competence is following. There's a lag. And seafarers have the challenge of then serving on ships and performing to the level they are expected without actually sufficiently being ready for that. But they have managed. So some of the discussions we were going to have are already probably addressed in the previous panel discussion. Yet I will ask the same of you, those who are in the area of manning, representing crewing agencies on behalf of owners. What is it that you would expect from the current seafarer today and the next 10 years? Yes, sir. Mr. Able.
Good morning, everybody. I represent MOL Maritime India Private Limited.
Bit louder, please.
I think, want me a bit louder?
Yeah.
Okay. Few things is, we look at cadets just with basic competence. We don't want high-flowing cadets. We just want cadets with the basic knowledge. Once they join our organization, we put them through various trainings. Basically, first time they go on a cadet training vessel. We have dedicated cadet training vessels, about 12 ships. They go with the sailing master if they are from the deck side. If they are from the engine side, they go with the chief engineer, about 7 or 8, and the cadets are from different nationalities, not only Indians. They are mixed up, and they get to feel the latest technology on the ships. It's not that, first time when they go, they are just dumped. They are put through various processes on board. Once those processes are completed, then they come on a vessel where they will join as a cadet first time and then put through the grind. And we find that this process helps us to get seafarers future ready. Once that is done, and when they come for the exams, they do further training on the different new technologies which is available. We are one of the largest LNG operators in the world, and we have various ships with various technologies which the cadets need to adapt. And we have these trainings in our own training center. The only problem is that we don't get seafarers coming for training. That is our major problem. The question they tell us, sir, every time you want training, we don't have time for other use. So this is our only problem. We don't get people for training. And the training comes at huge expense. Each maker's course costs minimum 3,000 pounds. And if you don't have a batch, we miss out. And then you need seafarers to also have their competence level well. Otherwise you get complaints from the ship manager. At the same time, you need to meet the matrix. And in spite of all this, when you get all this moving, when they are time to join the ships, they go for the medicals, they become unfit. And the whole expenditure what we have put for the seafarers, we lose out. So I would not say seafarers are not future ready. Seafarers are willing to adapt. Is only thing is we need to support them, we need to guide them. The office staff needs to be more cooperative. If office staff is cooperative, seafarers are willing to do it. And we are able to operate the LNG vessels safely, and we have a no blame culture on board, that if something happens, the seafarer is not blamed. It is from the office side to analyze what went wrong. So I leave it at here now. I leave it to the other panelists.
Sure, thank you, thank you. Captain Furness, if you could take the view of, as a crew manager, if you take the view of a ship owner, operator, what can you say about the attributes of, sailors in the future, seafarers, and not just cadets, across the board?
Thank you very much for this. Pleasure to be here with this august panel. Are we future ready? From the owner's point of view, when we look at it, I've got a bit of a different view over here. When we talk about India, we've got two sets of managers in India. One is the managers from the owner's side, and one are managers who are doing third-party crewing or running vessels for the owner. Now, when it comes to making our crew future ready, getting these young lads, maybe senior, maybe junior ratings, it's a question of investment, like you rightly said, sir. The ownership, management companies are putting in a lot of effort. We see that happening. They have their own training centers. They actually are trying to bring them up to the requirement of their own company, where they have new technologies coming in.
Sure.
Sadly so, but a fact, the third-party managers are scrounging on these trained seafarers, because they might not be willing to put in that much of effort and money into training. They're just taking from the market what is available, and that is where there is a conflict, which I feel. This is again my personal opinion, a conflict in the market. So who is suffering in between are the seafarers. Training, as we say, like Captain Bhutalia was here earlier, we have to upgrade our knowledge of the trainers. The complete ecosystem is changing so fast, and if you go to, I will not generalize it, to the maritime MTIs all over the country, are our trainers, have we increased their knowledge base? We are still teaching them, or that they are still teaching things which have been obsolete. There's a reason for that.
Okay.
The catch situation is, the students who are coming to get their other certificates, they are not interested in acquiring knowledge at that point of their life. They want to clear, they have got a one-point agenda. I need to clear my certificate. I need to clear my examination. So then the same seafarer, once he clears, is he future ready? Big debatable question. So that's what I would leave it at, as there is a lot of investment in time, management, training and retraining, not only for our seafarers but also for our trainers in various institutes. What are we doing about that? And that's a question which we need to address and take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So when we talk of competency, we can segment it, technical competence, and then there is the non-technical part of it, which some people would say soft skills and so on. Attitudes, right? Emotional maturity, adaptability, and maybe at the third level, leadership, followership, those issues. So when it comes to, again, seafarer competency in the non-technical area, I would ask Captain Rohan to elaborate on what are his thoughts on this issue.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Marex, ATPI, for this opportunity. I think whatever, I can answer this question, but if you can allow me to handle this a little differently, because I realize whatever I say here has already been said before or is known by the experts here. So what I plan to do here is kind of make sense of what has been said so far, because after all, what is the agenda here? Agenda is one, to talk about what the future is and to know where we stand and how do we reach there. So I'll kind of give an overview, and as always, to make sense of anything, one has to go back to the basics and assign whatever has been said, align it with the basics. So to begin with, the future. I call it the 3Ds, and it's already been said by the subject matter experts before. The future is going to look at three main things. The future is going to keep changing, but these three things, in my opinion, will be there. One is digitalization, call it automation, AI, all of this in one basket. The second basket is the alternate fuels, decarbonization. That includes the newer engines, the different type of fuels, handling of those fuels, the operational aspect of it, the technical aspects of it, right? And the third part, I would call it diversity. Diversity in terms of the amount of information that will be available, for the future seafarer to decipher and act upon. The decision-making part of it, the complexities, if we go back 30 years from now, how simple life was and how complex life is today, right? So if I fast forward 15 years, 10 years from now, it's going to be multifold because of AI and all the advancement that's happened, right? So keeping these 3Ds in mind, if I today place the current seafarer 15 years from now to handle these 3Ds, are we ready? We are not, right? The future seafarer is not ready for it so far. Capable, yes, but are we ready to handle this? No. Are the officers ready? Are the shore staff ready? I don't think so. And that is something I'll touch upon now. So going back to the basics, the human personality is said to have 5 sheets, the 5 layers of what we see here is just the human body. But then there's more to it. There's the physical body, there's the energy in the vital energy, the mind, the intellect, and the core of a being, right? So if for anything to be sustainable, one has to look at it holistically. So if I consider these 5 sheets and kind of align it with the ship of the future, so say a physical, let's start with the first sheet, the physical. we need seafarers who are physically fit, right? You know, as we know nowadays, BMI is a big thing, P&I cases are increasing. So let's focus on getting everyone physically fit. How do we do that? We do that by having the health bulletins passed on, briefing people, teaching them the importance of staying fit. That's number one. The parallel to this on a ship is, do we have the offices and the vessels of the future modern, sophisticated? You know, is the infrastructure good enough? When a seafarer walks into the office or he goes on a ship, is it livable? Is it, you know, say I jump to 2035. Is the vessel of 2035 same as what it was in 2015? It should not be. You know, the accommodation and all of that. That's the first layer. The second layer, let me jump to the second layer, that's the energy. That's the vibe on a ship. That's the vibe in the office. The energy in the human being, right? Are we, you know, the future seafarer, the future, not just the seafarer, anyone for that matter in the future is going to be more anxious considering the amount of information overload. So how do we handle that anxiety? How do we ensure mindfulness? How do we ensure the energy flows properly? I think that's where Sagar Mein Yog is one of the answers to all of this, because there you are regulating your breath, you regulate your breath, you control your mind, you control your mind, you control most of the stuff around you. So that's the second aspect. The third part is the mind, the most important thing, you know, mind space, mindfulness, right? So the future seafarer has to ensure that he is in control of his thoughts, calm, composed, you know, to be able to make sense of all the information that is provided to him. You know, I go up on the bridge in 2035, I'll have a lot of information that is available to me, but I need to take the right decision. Am I trained for that? Am I capable of that? You know, that is one aspect. Similarly, in the offices, are we efficient enough? Are we overloading? You know, we keep adding stuff to the SMS. Is there someone looking at what is not required? You know, things like that. Simplifying stuff, that comes in the mind space. The fourth layer is the intellect. I think that's very important, especially for the future, because most of the mind space work is done by AI and the gadgets, or will be done by the AI and the gadgets. Intellect is very important for the future. The training part, you know, how you think, how you decide, all of this will come into that space, and that requires a bit of focus. Having said that, since I spoke of training, I think it's very important to also speak of how these seafarers are to be trained, and that I leave to the experts here who can elaborate on it. And the final, the core of one's being, you know, the heart of what we speak, of what we do. Here, I would say the values of the organization, the values of the individual seafarer, you know, doing the right thing, speaking up, mindfulness, adaptability, you know, all of this that has been spoken of, the soft skills, all of this would, in my opinion, come into that space. So, to give you an overview, if we look at all these 5 layers, and if we are able to align this with our expectations, I think we will be able to go about reaching that goal of what is required to achieve the 3Ds and how to make the seafarer reach that position in a more structured and a more, like I said, making sense way of manner.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Captain Rohan, for sharing these insights. Really good stuff to reflect on for future seafarers of the current time. Let me then carry on with the same topic, more or less, with Miss Elena. Let's understand that if you can categorize or segment seafarers into maybe 3 categories. One, those who are not yet actually seafarers, those who are in training, who are going to come out to sea shortly, and those who are fresh into the career, maybe from 1 to 5 years they're on ships, and then those who are in the mid-career level, 5 to 10 years or so, if maybe 15. And beyond that, there's another category of, old salts. I think we may leave them out of the discussion. They are not going to be very much there in the future. So let's focus on what we have. The ones who will start the career soon, the ones who are already just started, and the ones who are in mid-career. From the labor point of view, ILO, unions, labor welfare, Ms. Elena, what do you say about the support those people will have from organizations like yours?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think especially when we are thinking about younger people and about attracting people and retaining them in this sphere, it is very important to understand that indeed this new generation is very different, and they have different understanding of their expectations, what they want to receive from their work and how they want to work. And of course, it is very important that they have proper and decent working conditions, and that they have rights, because of course, and that they can combine their work with the rest of the life. Work-life balance is very important for these people. And of course, in this sense, the document that ILO has developed, Maritime Labour Convention, is a kind of foundation for establishing this and helping to maintain decent working conditions for seafarers. And this year we are celebrating 20 years since the MLC was adopted. And generally we can say that globally it received very good recognition, because we have 112 ratifications by 112 countries as of now, and it means that 96% of the world fleet are covered from these countries. And the implementation of the provisions of the MLC is also developing quite well. More than 100 countries submitted their first reports on the implementation of the MLC, and overall the committee of experts assessed very highly the efforts that are made at national level to implement in the law and in practice the Maritime Labour Convention through development of national legislation, etc. But one thing is what we do and recognize in legislation, and it is very different thing what is happening in reality, right? Because I think many of us understand that it's not so easy to ensure that everything works properly. So, of course, in this sense, the issues related to, again, working conditions and welfare of seafarers in practice are very, very important. And again, for the new generation, for this coming generation, what are very important aspects and issues? So first, I would just mention social connectivity. This is a different generation, right? So it is very important that to attract and to retain the people, you need to ensure the right to social connectivity. And access to their internet for these people on board shipping should be either free or very moderate costs, because indeed it is an important part of the life for the younger generation. Of course, it is very important to ensure that these people, when they come to the ports, they have a proper opportunity to use their shore leave, because the issue of mental health, of feeling well, that like you live normal life, is very important for those people who spend many months in the sea. We have lots of problems, and this was recently discussed several weeks ago in Mumbai when there was a Seafarer Expo organized there. There are lots of challenges related to abandonment and criminalization of seafarers, and actually no one among seafarers is well protected from this. So it is very important to think what we can do together and help seafarers in this relation. So it's probably very important to think about sensitization of judges, of ensuring that proper legislation is developed and applied to seafarers when they are even in foreign countries. Also, another aspect quite important for seafarers, of course, decent and regularly paid wages. And so opportunity to receive their wage every month without delays, and even when people are detained or when they face various risks. Training, a lot of being discussed today about training, and one of the key issues is indeed who is paying for the training, right? Because there was a discussion last year whether it should be an obligation of the ship owner to pay for the training. So there was a discussion on the need to amend Maritime Labour Convention, and agreement was not achieved on this. But probably, indeed, it would be very important to ensure that at least some expenses are covered by ship owners, by companies. Not everything is just left to the seafarers themselves. And again, today we mentioned that more and more women are coming to the industry, and especially for cruise ships, the share of women is quite high even now, and it will definitely increase. So for this category of people, but also for men as well, it's important to address issues related to violence and harassment. And for women especially, it is very important to ensure that they have right to maternity protection, because even if they decide to become seafarers, it is still important for them probably to have family, to have kids. So how we manage these issues, it is not in the convention and in many legislations as of now, and it is really important to think about, because the gender is changing. Yeah, and just broader mental health issues. I think we are all discussing this issue today. It is very, very important, and we need to see how to address it jointly.
Sure. Thank you. Can I pick up on one point that you made? Maybe the audience caught it. Owner is expected to kind of bear the expenses of training the seafarers. If I were an owner and if I don't have guarantee that this seafarer is going to stay with me in coming days, months, years, wouldn't I be a little hesitant to spend money on him? In other words, the question is, do you think ILO will ever propagate full-time employment versus contractual employment as it used to be earlier?
I don't think that ILO is taking decision based on the views of ship owners, employers, workers, and the governments, right? It is a tripartite organization, and the committee which is deciding on the amendments of the MLC is also a tripartite. I don't think that it is possible to return to the old models of employment relationship, because indeed the whole labor market and how employment and labor relations are managed completely changed. But we need to see how the job security can be better ensured for workers, of course. And again, as you said, it is very important for ship owners as well, because they also want to retain the well-trained and qualified staff, right?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me skip back to the technical aspects of competencies. And I invite now one gentleman from the technical side of our industry, Mr. Berry, representing DNV. What would you state is the position of technical bodies like yours? Also, you may speak about on the behalf of regulators, in a sense, in taking up the competency levels on the technical side of things.
So I represent DNV. My name is Kapil Berry. DNV has one clear vision, and that is to be the trusted voice to tackle global transformations. And currently, as we see, stage is set. The maritime industry is undergoing a major transition. Decarbonization and digitalization are the two main pillars for this transition. And to meet this transition, definitely a radical change is required for the training needs of the seafarers. From DNV side, we recognized this challenge a few years ago, and we published two papers. First paper was published in 22, which is titled Insights into Seafarer Training and Skills Needed to Support a Decarbonized Shipping Industry. And the second paper, this first paper was targeted more towards 2050 and the journey that we are taking up toward fully decarbonized shipping industry. Second paper was published in 2023, and that focused more on the first 5 years of this transition, leading up to 2030, and what are the training requirements which are required to meet this. So I would encourage everyone to just search for DNV and Seafarers on Google, and you should be able to find these two papers, and you can download it from our website. These papers talk more on a global scale rather than Indian perspective, as we were discussing. There is some staggering figures in there. It is required that about 310,000 seafarers will require upgrading of their skills by 2030. This figure goes up to 750 to 800,000 seafarers require training till 2035. And for 2050, it is 1.8 million. That is talking on a global scale. The figures are staggering. Are we ready for it? I'm not so sure. One of the points which Amitabhji discussed earlier was qualitatively and quantitatively, both are challenges. Quantitatively, we need to induct a lot more seafarers into the industry as the industry grows and expands and the transformations go up. I come from Singapore, where I've lived for the last 15 years, and I see that all the maritime students, none of them want to go out to sea. Not one. So Singapore government and MPA both are having a big challenge in just getting people out to sea. And now they are talking about alternate pathways to let them become superintendents without going to sea. That's a completely different mindset that, that is happening. Qualitatively is also a challenge because I think Amitabhji actually hit the nail on the head that different trades require different skills. Gas carrier trade, crewing requires a completely different skill to a bulk carrier crewing to a cruise ship crewing. So this aspect has to be inducted into our training. There are major drivers, both alternate fuels. They are, there are different, you can split them halfway down. Biofuels, LNG and LPG are currently being used, and there are seafarers who are skilled in that, and there are more which required. And this one of our papers mentions that every 2 years, nearly 100,000 seafarers will require training for LNG and LPG, leading up to 2038 transitions. Ammonia, methanol, hydrogen, battery or nuclear, that is a separate pathway which will take a little longer, and especially in the wake of uncertainties in the regulatory regime, slip up in IMO net zero framework last year, that might get shifted a little later. So how do we split this and make sure that we look at the immediate needs followed by what is required in the future? There are a lot of detractions also into this game. Slow pace of regulatory development, geopolitics, market conditions. Today markets are good. We are talking about investing in training and certification of people. The moment markets go down, what is the first budget to be cut? You can guess. Developing versus developed countries, that is another challenge which happens. Like I talked to you about Singapore, not many people want to go out to sea. India, we still have sufficient reserves in getting people out to sea. But as the salaries ashore are catching up, you will find lesser and lesser well-trained, well-educated people coming out to sea, because you can get a better, salary package and work-life balance ashore. One point which again I refer to Amitabh ji, which was discussed, was showcasing shipping industry to get this quantitative induction into the industry. When we talk about airline industry, we have a lot of nice movies, nice video shows which showcase airline industry in a very positive light. Yeah? What do we have for shipping? We have Titanic. We have Captain Phillips. Do you think anyone would like to join shipping after that?
Oh, I can name you half a dozen airline disaster movies.
Yeah, but they still showcase it in a very, very positive light, right? It's an adventure. Yeah. So that is something which we need to think about, how to get the quantities in. We need to attract this young talent. So, one of the things which I see is, are we going, Amitabh ji discussed about going to schools and encouraging youngsters. Do we do enough on that front? I don't think we do. Now, I follow India Maritime Week. Can we have a campaign in that where industry people go to schools and talk to the kids? That's where you need to sow the seeds. That is where we need to start talking to them, that this is an industry to show, to come to. The leadership styles have changed. What the leadership styles we used to see out at sea when we were sailing to today, that has changed. One question also I would like to raise up here is, there is a lot of work going on STCW, upgrading. Are we having the next gen people as a part of that process? Or are we always deciding how the new generation will be taught? I attended the Maritime Trainers Guild session last year, and I was quite impressed with the youngsters who were there. And they had courage to stand up and say that the teaching techniques you are talking about, they are totally outdated. Our attention span is in minutes, not in hours. So these are the things I think we need to look into. On DNV side, we do have a training academy, and Captain Battaglia is a part of that. And we do go out to the industry and try to meet their needs on various training requirements. Thank you.
Let me pose one quick question, and I want a yes or no answer. Okay. No sitting on the fence maybe and all right? Yes or no? Put your limb out. As a classification society, as a kind of a regulator, you are approving equipment that goes on board, which seafarers have to operate, so they have to be skilled at it. Could you make provisions for the OEMs, equipment manufacturers, when you type approve them, that they must also have a training module which they should hand out to the operator?
I must admit, at the moment, it is not part of the game, but I definitely see your point, and yes, I agree to that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Let me come to my two favorite guys on the on the panel, my heart and soul trainers, Kapoor Sahab and Captain Kohli. You are representing now, the very core of bringing seafarer competency on the ship as trainers. But let me first just distinguish between education and training. We commonly say training, but it's not all training. A lot of it is education. I see education as imparting knowledge, and I see training as developing skills. So two separate things, all right? And you are, of course, involved in both of them. So the challenges that we have, we have all these keywords, new training methods, deliverables, but the challenge that we have, how do we get there? How do we even get our trainers to be familiar with what is the need of the day? Training gap analysis we talk about. Guru, you first.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to Marix ATPI for having us here. I am representing FOSMA Maritime Institute in Delhi. And
Bit louder, please.
sorry. And I stand between you and lunch. So I'll try to be as brief as possible. You talked about when it comes to education, how do we improve the delivery of the education or the training, either of them. One is in terms of content. What is it that you would like to keep? What is it that you would like to add on? And this is something which previous panelists have also talked about. And it's something which we need to address urgently. Because you cannot continue to keep on adding content, which is very, very relevant. But again, then the training or education gets too complex and too long. The other is in terms of soft skills. I mean, these are the skills which we have had as seafarers forever. Resilience, leadership, the ability to make decisions. Today, we are doing it in a world which is a lot more transparent, which is a lot more real time. So those skills just need to be evolved and they need to be encouraged and supported from ashore so that we can use those same skills and the resilience to be able to make better decisions and real-time decisions. And as somebody else has pointed out, we are working in a team. We're not working in isolation. So the failure of one link is the failure of the entire chain. Another issue which has been talked about is mental strain and mental stress. Again, we need to focus on something. Somebody had mentioned in the earlier presentation, we need to have something on mental first aid. This is becoming a need of the hour. We are having courses in medical first aid, in Medicare, etc. Let's introduce something on mental first aid, the ability to recognize and address in a very, very coherent and logical manner mental stress and distress on board a vessel. Delivery of training, extremely important that we consider the various mediums of training, whether it is classroom, simulators, augmented reality, onboard training, ashore training, remote and digital. But we also examine the consistency of training. How do we deliver that training in a consistent way across institutes, across different trainers? That should be something we should be worried about. Are all our trainers to the same mark? Do they need to be reskilled? Do they need to be retrained in order to deliver training to a particular audience which has got a short mental span, which wants something which is interesting, which keeps them engaged? So our generation also made a transition from different technologies. The reason we were able to make that transition in a fairly smooth manner was because we were motivated and we had curiosity. And that curiosity, that motivation is what needs to be maintained in the next generation to make them future ready.
Right.
Also in the terms of the MTI trainers. I come to something which may not be, again, politically correct. Who do we get into the training business? We need to be able to attract the best talent into the training business. You can't have the flotsam and the jetsam coming into training. You have to have the best people, the guys who really have a passion, the guys who are able to learn, to adapt, to be able to lead the training initiatives. You need to attract them into training, which means that you need to make the remuneration for training a lot better than it is today.
Sure.
Somebody has pointed out that very few research papers have come out in India. Again, it's not for lack of talent. It's not for lack of people who are interested. It's just that we don't do that as an industry initiative. Industry should reach out to training institutions and vice versa to say we are facing a challenge in this particular area. Let's put some of your minds together. We have access to thousands of students who are all seafarers, active seafarers. They're with us for not 1 day or 2 days. They're with us for months. Can we use that accessibility to be able to deliver a good paper or a research paper? Again, in industry training sort of a collaboration, which would reward trainers so that some of the load from the training institutes in terms of rewards, and motivation can be reduced. Yeah, so that is basically also, I think, one of the challenges which we are facing in the future. Captain Tandon has pointed out, we have a shortage of seafarers. This is not the time where we can afford to lose our best trained seafarers. So retention is going to be a major challenge, and retention depends on how do we keep them on board. So look at the length of the contracts. Look at the the chances of having a permanent employment. Look at using them while ashore on some of your offices to be able to bring in some real life experience. So
Okay.
I'll stop with that, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guru. Let me go to Kapoor Saab. Sir, one aspect of training is to identify training needs and develop suitable training programs. But the other aspect is the delivery. And for that, the key persons are the faculty. You want to call them faculty, you want to call them facilitators, you want to call them instructors, whatever. Tell us how we can get faculty up to speed. Again, differentiating between pure educators, those who are academics, who will add to the knowledge, and trainers who would be expected to be domain experts in the area that they are training. So these two categories. Let's hear your views about how do we develop faculty to a level that will actually ensure the deliverables of the training program.
My understanding is that whether it's a trainer or an educator, the core fundamentals don't change.
Bit louder.
We all go through, we went through the TOTA program, which is now VICT. The fundamentals don't change. I think after doing a 2 weeks program, what is important is that whatever we learn in those training programs, how well do we implement them? Unfortunately, when we look at the industry and the way things work, we find that people have not really adapted to the core fundamentals. So when it comes to even defining learning objectives, writing a decent lesson plan, it is not done. If the fundamentals are followed, it doesn't matter whether it's an educator or a trainer, they will deliver well. Because training is a thinking man's job. So you need to delve deep into why are you doing something, whom are you doing it for, how to deliver, what is your target audience. And when you have these things clear in your mind, you'll be able to deliver pretty effectively, whether it's a trainer or an educator.
Okay. Sure. Thanks. Thank you very much. What we are missing from this panel to some extent is the representation of regulators, administrators. Maybe that will come up in the next panel discussion somewhere. But looking back in the last 15, 20 years, clearly, as I said earlier, mandatory training requirements are following the technology and the operation requirements of the ship by 10, 15 years. You can take the example of EGDIS, or you can take the example of high voltage. It's been there for a long time. It's only now that we have, and we all appreciate the lumbering beast that IMO is. The STCW now 2030, and as somebody pointed out, its effectiveness much later. So, disregarding all of that and seeing the time at hand, can I request each of you to give me one pinpoint solution to all these problems or challenges that we have just discussed? Captain Furness. Pinpoint solution.
Yeah, pinpoint. Difficult question, but still, it is said that the younger you are, it's easier to adapt and to learn. With the evolving changes that we're having in our systems, I think at the pre-C level, we should introduce these soft skills, and at the second mate, when they come down for the second mate. So there has to be two different set of trainings done at their level. They are the ones who are the future, not the ones who are sailing. they have a different set of training, but these are the two categories where if we can concentrate on and give adequate soft skill training, I think it will help the future.
Point well taken. Thank you. Mr. Able? Captain Able, please. No, we are not going in serial order. Okay.
Okay, I was waiting for them. In a short, very short this, I would say improve the retention rate of seafarers in an organization. That will help you to get the desired goal. Otherwise, you're just fighting a losing battle.
Interesting, very interesting. Thank you. Ms. Elena?
Well, regarding the issues that I was raising, I think the most important thing is awareness raising, like just knowing, informing people, seafarers about their rights, but also ship owners, regulators. Everyone has to be well informed and follow the requirements. And in this sense, we need to have very well coordinated joint efforts and work.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Captain Rohan?
For the future, I would say the most important point would be to attract the right seafarer. How do I ensure shipping remains attractive? The answer for this is kind of what we all mentioned. Look at the whole thing, the whole picture, not just in bits and pieces. So we need to look at it holistically and consider major part of what we have spoken today.
Sure. Thank you. Rohan sir? Sorry, Berry sir?
I think since everyone is talking about quality, I would focus on quantity. And I think we can use India Maritime Week as a very good showcase for attracting younger talents, starting to sow the seeds into the brains at a very, very young age. Both in terms of physical outreach programs with the schools, as well as social media is a pretty good tool at the moment, and that reaches a wider audience. The only concern is how to get a targeted campaign going to reach the youngsters of today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Guru?
For me, sir, the key point would be to attract the best minds to training, to keep them sharp, and also the content and the delivery of the training. This is extremely important. We need to focus on that.
Great. Yeah. Agree completely. Sarji?
My answer is essentially to the question, are the seafarers future ready? I think we need to get our pre-sea, post-sea and modular training programs strengthened, because we have ended up creating a lot of duplication in the industry. A lot of validation programs are not necessary because the pre-sea is weak. Post-sea has become just for passing an examination, and modular effectiveness in any case is questionable in many cases, barring a few institutes. So if we can strengthen that part, and that obviously will come from a future-ready faculty. And if that is done well, I think we would have sorted most of the issues of the industry. Yeah.
So faculty is the key. Right. Great. Thank you, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for expressing your views and your thoughts. I hope they will reach out to the industry, through the media that we have, Marix and ATPI and whoever else, and will have an impact and actually convert into, something actionable. Otherwise, it can be just, grand presidential decrees. This must happen and that must happen. It's, we can talk about it that way. But I hope people will take cognizance of it, the thoughts you have shared, and put that into some kind of action. Having said that, let me end on a funny note. Captain Halbe mentioned Huey Lewis and the News, one of my favorite bands. And he gave the music for a movie called Back to the Future. You're right? And I can't help but quoting a line from the movie Back to the Future, which is the last line of the first movie, spoken by Dr. Brown, if you have, the doc. And, he's taking Marty McFly in his car to the future, where he has already come back from. And you all know the line when Marty asks him about roads, and he says, roads? Where we are going, we don't need roads. Okay? Is that same for seafarers? I convert that line, seafarers, where we are going, we don't need seafarers. Is this hitting home? Mass and all that? Right? Okay. So before that happens, let's get the future in our hands and get the seafarers and all those associated behind the scenes ashore into the act and take this industry to the level that it wants to be. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all panelists for those diverse and future-focused perspectives. I invite on stage Mr. Dipendra Singh Bisen, Deputy Director General of Shipping, to please come ahead and do the honors of felicitating our panelists. So in order, we begin with the panelists first. Captain Rohan Hiranjal. May we have a round of applause for them? Mr. Pavan Kapoor. Captain Gurprasad Kohli. Captain Albe Zakaria. Mr. Kapil Berry. Miss Elena Gerasimova. Captain Girish Fadnis. And our articulate moderator for the panel, Captain Yashovarman Sharma ji.